Hello everyone, my name is Marisabel Andrade. It is a pleasure for me to be here with you in this opportunity. I'm going to talk about measuring and protecting motivation. It is very important to generate motivation in the classroom. Our students are happy, animated, and with all the energy to learn. Because we record that teaching should not be boring or tiresome, but something that generates happiness. It is one thing to awaken students' appetites with motivational techniques, but when the action has changed and is underway, a set of new motivational influences. Motivation must be actively nurtured. Now, let's look at eight most powerful executive motivation areas. First, making learning stimulating and enjoyable. Here is important breaking the monotony of learning, making tasks more interesting and encouraging student participation. The barrier, however, is not limited to tasks alone. It can also refer to other aspects of the teaching learning process, such as our presentation style, learning materials, the degree of student participation, the expression organization of the classroom. The opportunity to complete can also add excitement to learn tasks and humor, making learning stimulating and for the student by enrolling them as active participants in homework activity. A good activity in this case, talking about primary schools and teaching verbs, can be fun to put the children in a circle and to start walking around holding hands. As they spin, the teacher says a verb and the student do the verb. For example, sit, and the student sit down. The teacher changes the green quickly. You can use run, lie down, jump, walk, stop, cry, loud, and many more verbs. It was a lot of fun. Of the student will love this activity because they are on the go all the time, and being holding hands makes it together. If someone does not have much encouragement to participate, they partner motivates them. Presenting tasks in a motivating form. How we present assignments can make a big difference in how a student perceive and approach them. With a proper introduction, even a grammar substitution exercise can be exciting. So, what is an adequate introduction in the motivational sense? One emphasizes that homework is a learning opportunity to evaluate. Also explain where the activity is localized with a large picture of sequence and how it relates to overall objective of the class, and also describes in the intended purpose of the activity, for example, what to focus or take special care of, and also try to establish a connection between homework and student professional daily life. Also find the students' appetite. Good homework presentation raise student expectation of something interesting and important to come. Project intensity and enthusiasm when you present the activity. Ask the student to make guesses and prediction about the next activity, pointing out changing or important aspect of the context, and add a twist to routine activities. The activity, for example, if we are going to work In a class of grade things, we can start by explaining the importance of grades. The activity is called the grading. With a brief description, then teach a song as an introduction. Mm, there is a very easy song to start in the class called Ratings, and it is so. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good night. Nice to meet you too. Nice to meet you too. Goodbye, goodbye, see you. It's very funny. Then we can make a circle, and with a small alarm or some object we can play traditional tango, but change it for a sun or moon or others. In this way, the teacher will make his eyes warm and the ball will rotate from hand to hand, and to the person who corresponds to it we can ask and say a verb or speak about the grammars, like what is important to say hello, or how do you say good morning, how do you say goodbye to someone, among others. 3. Set a specific learning object. Some steps are defined to goal. Clearly list the step to follow to achieve this goal. Think about problems that could arise that would interfere. Think of solution to these problems. Establish a timeline to reach the goal. Evaluate your process. Reward yourself your achievements. The object should be clear and specific, describing concrete results in as much detail as possible. Make sure describing the result in terms that can be clearly evaluated, challenging and difficult, but not out of the research of a student capabilities. Realistic goal must have a set date. Short and long term goals should be established. Teachers must provide comments that encourage the student limit ability to confidence to achieve goal. Some strategies are use methods to set goals in your classroom. More specifically, encourage students to select specific short-term goals for themselves. Emphasize deadlines for meeting goals and offer continuous feedback. The activity create a story. Having a student in a circulation, we are going to create an story with image that the teacher gives them. With the image, you can almost predict what the story will be about, but of course, they can add details to their linking. This can be developed to know the pronunciation of the student. This can be developed out loud. This way you will know the asking for your student and of course the vocabulary and grammar that they use. You can also put a student who are writing the history in the board while it is being formed in order to know its gravity. Meanwhile, you can correct while the history is being formed. And everyone will learn together from the mistakes of the peers and from their own mistakes. It is going protecting the self-esteem of the learners and encouraging their confidence. Very confident teenagers are most insecure people in the world. They live vulnerable to a host of different pressures Help this with providing experience of students, encouraging the learning, reducing language anxiety, teaching learning strategies, reducing language anxiety. The language classroom in an inherently faith-free technique environment with learning being expected to communicate using as severely restrict language code help diminish language anxiety by removing or reducing the anxiety provoking elements in the learning environment. More specifically, avoid social comparison, promote cooperation instead of competition, help learners to accept the fact that they will make mistakes as part of the learning process. Mm, Classifying language material into meaningful, meaningful units, relating, relating new language information to concept, reading memory, learning new vocabulary by using new cards, memorizing new words by means of meaningful visual images, making a mental or writing summary of the new material, making notes or highlighting information, regularly evaluating one's own progress in the new language, seeking out or creating practice opportunity, seeking help from others. Activity Let's Call. It is a very simple and enriching game, as in all cases, um, in the classroom we will make a list call, but with a simple difference. The student will be asked about knowledge from previous class. Here you simply allow the student to express themselves freely on a previous topic. You don't necessarily have to know the whole topic, but explaining your words that you understood. For this activity, you can make a group of 5 so that they can help each others. You give her a short time to think about the answer or to socialize it with her team and give that will give you confidence so that when you to give the answer you will be more sure of it. 5. Allowing learners to maintain positive and social image. A school is not merely an education environment as many of teachers would like to believe, but a context where every educational decision and even has implication about the social life of the learners. Therefore, student attempts to create and maintain a positive social image, which is one of the most basic human needs. You should avoid criticisms and correction that can be considered or humiliating. You should avoid discipline students in ways that they might perceive as humiliating. Allow learners to maintain a positive social image while engaging and more specifically select activity to contain good roles for the participant, avoid faith reigning acts such as humiliating criticisms or putting students on the spline unexpectedly. Activity Create animals book. This activity may suffer to learn language. Making animal books is so much funny and creative for a student. Every year, teach a student like this. We choose an animal. We ask a series of questions about it. What does he eat? What does he look like? Where does he live? We investigate the answer in animal books. When the research is done, it is time to put in writing to create our own animals books. This activity is very productive and does not require exposing our students in front of their companions, but rather they enjoy their wonderful imagination. Promoting cooperation among the learners. Cooperation fosters class group cohesiveness. When students work together, they tend to like each other regardless of ethnic, cultural, class, or ability differences. You can use setup tasks in which teams of learners are asked to work together toward the same goal. Take into account teamed products and not just individual products in your assignments, and provide students with some social training to learn how best to work in a team. The activity is called the language theory. There are many ways to adapt a theory activity to the class. To use fragments of a history or bullets from the English textbook. An adaptation according to the lesson in question. To encourage a student, we can use an audience of teacher or student. A student can practice language learning while expressing themselves at true start. It is important to note that many students don't like this activity first, either because of embarrassment or stage fright. We will not force you to participate. Usually, once the activity begins, even the most shy students are willing to participate. 7. Creating learning autonomy. Autonomy is also related to group dynamics in that the group's internal development of growing go hand in hand with the members taking on increasing responsibility in control over their own function. From the point of group dynamics involving students and increase autonomous students. The key in suit is increased learning involving to share responsibility with the learners about the learning process. They need to feel that they are the control of what is happening to them. You can do a number of things to achieve this. Although learners choose about as many aspects of learning process as possible. For example, about activity, teaching materials, topics, assignments, due dates, the format and they feel that they have the control. Choose in a sense of responsibility as it permits learning to see that they are the chairs of their learning experience. Give a student position of genuine authority. Designate course responsibility makes a student fully functioning members of the class group. Activity, game, development, or dynamics. Two groups of 4 or 5 people each are created. In a group, 4 people have their eyes covered and their feet at the ladder. In the other group, there is more than one ladder. They don't cover their eyes, and the others cover their eyes. Birds are placed and on end, which will research that other and through various obstacles. The group that all bears is the winner. 7. Promoting self-motivating learning strategies. Encourage the student's self-motivating capacity. More specifically, raise your student awareness of the importance of self-motivation. Share with each other strategies that you have found useful in the past. Encourage students to adopt, develop, and apply self-motivation strategies. The activity. Start cast. Teacher says something positive to each of the students who are sitting in a circle. At the same time, he gives them a stars, either paper or sticker. Students should say something positive to each boy who has
That's
on
all. Thank you
each
so
side
much
and
and
give
God
them
bless
a
you.
star too.
That's all. Thank you so much and God bless you.